Now, I
Oh
think I
yeah,
told you guys
so
the story, but I can tell you my story of why I actually started prepping.
okay,
Shoot.
go for it.
So what happened? I'll tell it for the stream. I'll kind of give it the rough and dirty. So,
Yeah.
be in college, working a summer job at a summer camp in West Virginia, and I have almost no money. I get all my food at the camp because there's really no reason for me to buy food because I just go to the camp and
Yeah.
go to the camp and get it. We got hit with a massive storm that knocked out power for about a week.
Oh wow.
And generally there was disruption in the area because there was a lot of trees down because it was just a massive out of the blue storm.
Yeah.
And because again, I had no money, I had nothing stockpiled because I was broke and I just got all my stuff from the camp anyway. And I was there living with my with a dog at the time. And there was many a days where I had to bring food back from the camp because the camp was able to get 3 generators to run the whole thing. They were able to, power the kitchen or whatever. But if it wasn't for that, I would have been SOL. I would have been just up shit creek. It still sucked because there was a lot of times where I had to choose between, all right, do I give my dog some food or do I give myself some food? Yeah. And finally, once things got back in order, I finally got paid and actually was able to, get some food. I was like, that's when I made the decision. I don't want to end up in this situation again.
Oh yeah.
And that wasn't the end of the world.
Because
that was just a bad storm that knocked out power.
Yeah, that was. I mean, and we always talk about a world-ending scenario, but a lot of the times, people are already going through like a world-ending scenario to their own personal world-ending scenario, and prepping for that. I mean, it's kind of hard to prep when you really get blindsided. You don't see it coming.
Mm-hmm.
That's what happens with a lot of people. They'll try to go out.
But yeah, it's the whole factor of, I don't want to ever be vulnerable like that again. I don't want to become that sort of victim. I don't want to be victim to A, B, C, or D.
Yeah. And people can come out and, like a psychologist and say, "Oh, well, you're that won't happen again. You should stop doing that because
there are people that look at it that way, and then there are people who also look at it as rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it sort of deal.
Usually the first thought is
it's almost like it.
Like, no, I'm not building any bunkers in my yard. I wish I could. I'd like to, but
that'd be fun, wouldn't it?
just generally, like, here and there, stop. Every time I go to the store, just grab an extra couple of things of food, grab an extra thing of toilet paper is what I do now.
Yeah, and
just slowly but surely, and just over time. So when that situation happens, and even a non-apocalypse situation, so I've got water saved up. And they cut the water to our building because there was a water heater that got messed up in one of the apartments. So we could flush only if we had water, but they cut off the sinks. So I was like, well, time to break open the cache of water I've got. Thankfully, they restored it pretty quickly, but it could have been one of those things where, like, well, we're fixing this thing and it's gonna be out for a week, so you guys are kind of on your own. I mean, it sucks, but it's like, well, at least I've got some water left over. And if I didn't, I could go to the store, but it's more convenient if I already have it.
Yeah.
Right.
So I recommend, just like with everyone having general knowledge of first aid, I think everyone should just be mindful that, especially for in areas that have a lot of storms or stuff that happens or stuff that just can happen out of the blue. It's a good idea to have. Actually, speaking of, not only toilet paper was out, at the beginning, the first couple months, a lot of easy to make food was gone, like boneless chicken, turkey, and some other stuff that was like really easy to cook, pre-made, was gone. The only things I could the meat, ground beef was gone.
I'll say this. I mean, I'm not a huge like bean person. I don't really like beans at all.
Really?
Of course, I'll eat it if I have to. I mean, I'm not that picky. But if I have the choice to, I'm just not. If I'm at a barbecue and they're like, "Hey, you want some beans?" I'm like, no.
No.
Yeah, but like I remember hitting the shelves and I was just trying to find like some spaghetti or corned beef hash or anything like that. And the only thing that was left are like the lima beans, the this, the that, so even Bush's baked beans were up there. I was like, I guess I'm not alone in the sentiment of bean hatred or bean dislike, I should say.
My roommates don't like it.
Really? I mean, see, that's surprising. Like I always thought that I was one of few people that really didn't like beans, but I guess when this whole thing hit, go up to Food Lion, try to get some canned food, and there's nothing but beans, nothing but beans.
Yep.
So naturally, well, I bought some beans in case shit hit the fan.
Yeah. Stuff, and that's what they say: stock stuff that you're actually going to eat. Because
absolutely.
Onion story, but there was a story of I think it was last year. There was some story, but some guy like bought out a bunch of spam, and he was interviewed by the news, and he said he hated spam. Like, why the fuck are you buying it?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I don't mind spam. It depends if you cook it. If it's uncooked, it's not that good. You can stomach it, but it just has a really gelatin like taste to it. But cooked, like thinly sliced cooked spam is delicious.
Oh yeah.
But it's always the typical like, oh, herder, you're a prepper. I guess you got all the cans of spam. It's like, yeah, I have some.
I mean, I guess I'm not necessarily like called a prepper or whatever. I consider myself to be a kind of a very, very, very amateur-esque prepper. But yeah. I actually just the things that I have are more or less geared towards my personal hobbies. Yeah. Like I like airsoft. I'm also a decent gun advocate sort of person,
camping gear.
Yeah, and camping stuff. I love to go camping. So
would you say it's more like
run into
survivalist, maybe?
Sure. Yeah, you could say whatever term would kind of summarize it, but I think having like a hobby that already revolves around something close to what you might actually end up have to do, like in a grid down scenario, is definitely beneficial for sure. I mean, and I guess it's just like general interest, I know a lot of people, depending on what region of the country or even the world like they're from, a lot of the times their hobbies are going to be driven by the availability of certain resources in certain environments, for sure. Definitely. So an environment like this, hell, guys, we got it made good. At least me and Overseer do. I know you're a little bit ways away, but we have Ballahack, one of the biggest staples of airsoft in Virginia, sort of deal. Right. And I mean, it's kind of like, well, there's nothing to do this weekend. Let's head up to Ballahack. Let's play some airsoft.
Yep.
And that hobby, like I said prior, brings in a lot of, either
honestly,
active or prior military
we have
people,
a number of fields.
first responders, all that stuff. Oh yeah.
Like
we do. We definitely have a number of fields.
We've got Swamp. We've got Bethel, if you're willing to go there. And I think New Kent's got a place up the road too.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. So I mean, there's definitely a lot of options.
I think CZ's out there. Yeah. Yep. The reason why I named Ballahack is just I think it's more or less like a staple of
totally
like airsoft over here. Just because I know that if you don't know anything about the Virginia airsoft players, or you're not from Virginia, this, that, or the third, I know that you've probably heard of Ballahack Airsoft if you are in the airsoft world. It might not be simple place in a lot of different parts of the United States, but definitely over on this side, you'll hear people coming down from New York City and coming up from Florida just to play at Ballahack. So that's where I met. Big name thing.
We've had Revelations, Fertile Crescent. We have had people. They've had people come from the UK. Like people will come from the other side of the planet to attend these events.